What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Trick 10s. Today, we're going to be working on a brand new 2022 Weldbilt 1652. The boat itself just came from Backwoods Landing. It has not even been in the water yet. The customer bought it directly to me because he knows I'm the guy to hook up all his stuff and get them right. So what he has is a lot of electronics going into this boat. It's probably about 13K worth of stuff sitting over here I'm getting ready to show you. But the cool thing about this build is that I'm going to be putting in some of my own products. I'm using my shallow recessed foot pedal tray, it's powder coated black, and then I'm going to be using my Trick 10s dual graph bridge. This is the first time I'm going to put one of these in a boat, so I'm pretty excited about that. This thing's going to be sick. The boat itself is literally my boat of choice. If I was going to fish these local lakes and reservoir bass tournaments, this is the boat I would use. I'm gonna give you a quick once-over of the boat, how it sits now, and then I'm gonna get to work. All right, quick look at the boat. Weldbilt 2022 1652. It's got the upgraded galvanized trailer. The paint on it is sick. It's like a snow camo. It's got the dual live wells here. This one's gonna be a live well. This one is just gonna be for storage. It's got two seat pedestal bases mounts in the floor itself. Sidewall, side panels, one large hatch compartment up front. Set a mount for his trolling motor, another seat pedestal base, and then I staged my recessed foot pedal tray and my graph bridge just so you can get an idea of what it's going to look like. So check out these electronics. We've got an EchoMaps Ultra 126 SV and a 106 SV. It's got the Livescope Panoptics. This is his existing 12-inch Hummingbird draft that we're gonna put in the back. He's got a brand new Garmin Force trolling motor. I'll be installing that on this quick release bracket right here. This is some really cool stuff, and I'm excited about putting this in. Let's get back to work. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have to build some type of switch panel. We're not putting in a recessed, switch panel hatch like I normally would. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to install both this switch panel and the fuse panel side by side. It's going to be recessed. That way these will sit flush, leave a little bit more room in here, and they'll be out of the way, less likely to be hit or knocked around. All right, so this was our drawing that I made. Basically, the SP is the switch panel, fuse block on this side. Got all the dimensions of the pan that's gonna fit in there. I just cut the pan out right here. I cleaned it up, DA sanded it. I have two different grommet sizes. This is a 1-inch. It's going into the two big holes. And this one is 1/2 inch, 3/8 inside. 6 of these will go into these 6 holes. Basically just protect the wires coming in and out of the fuse panel. Then obviously the switch panel is going to drop into the other side. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to go bend this real quick, and then I'm going to put a coat of paint on it, let that dry. We're going to start working on something else. This is a 2-foot finger brake. This thing comes in very handy. Pretty simple. All right, so let's talk live well. So we're gonna plumb this live well in now. Got everything set out the way I need it. This pump right here is gonna be for our recirculate pump. It's gonna go on this side, probably in the middle, at the bottom of this tank, And then the top of this tank will have this flow right system on it for the aerator, and then the pump out, which will go to the outside of the hull with this fitting right here. Then this pump right here is going to go through the side of the hull, and it will come up to a sprayer right here on the top of this side over here. Then we'll have this screen on the inside. We're going to be drilling these holes with a 3/16 starter bit, and we're coming back with a 1-inch paddle bit. And this is a deburring reaming tool for aluminum, so we can clean the hole up a little bit before we seal everything up with the 5200. We're going to be using this clear 1-inch hose, and we've got some stainless steel hose clamps in there. Let's get back to work. All of the Livewell fittings are all connected. I put the sealant on there. Everything's good to go inside of the Livewell box. And the hoses are all run nice and neat. All the fittings attached. I put sealant around all of the fittings on the pumps and through hole fittings, everything, and stainless steel wire clamps. It looks good. I'm gonna let this dry until tomorrow, and then we'll test it out. Alright, so now that the Livewell looks good, all the fittings and plumbing and stuff's all connected, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the excess from this bilge pump, and then I'm going to focus on this electrical pan. This is the pan that I built yesterday. I painted it, it's nice and dry. I'm going to install the fuse block and the switch panel and try to hook up the pumps for this Livewell. Let's get back to work. So we've got our switch panel and our fuse block installed into the pan. Got all our grommets in here to protect our wires. This piece is going to sit right here behind the Livewell underneath this back deck extension. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove all of these red wires because they're basically ran in line to be hooked up to a power, but there's no fuses attached to these. So I'm going to remove all of these red cables and jump from here into the fuse block. Our accessory will come in on the other side right here. And then all of our negatives will run up through this big hole on the bottom. And the negatives will all attach to this. And obviously this is our main power in. Alright, so the switch panel is completed. This little pan just has some stainless self-tapping screws up under the top here. We've got 3 across here. We've got 1 down here. That way it can be removed if you need to access the pumps or the hoses behind here. It'd be easier to get to them. Also, all 6 of these fuses are in line with all 6 of these switches. Right now I only have the first 2 hooked up, the bait pump and aerator. The bait pump is basically your Livewell fill. You can hear it come on. It's not going to suck water because it's not in the water. Second one is the aerator. There is water in the tank. Obviously it's working. And that will wrap up how to hook up a Livewell. I hate to do it, but I'm gonna have to call this one. I decided to do something a little bit different with this build series because mainly I'm just doing a bunch of installs. I wanted to break it down and give you all some more how-to stuff, a little more in-depth, and give you some insight on how I hook up all of my stuff. So part one is going to be the Livewell and the switch panel that you just saw me install. Right now the switch panel is set up with the two switches, the fill and the recirculate. I'm also going to be hooking up some more switches for LED nav lights and for the Panoptix black box. So appreciate you guys watching, and I really appreciate if you guys would subscribe to the channel. If you got any questions or anything, just leave them in the comments down below. I'm going to start working on putting together some packages for these Livewells with all the parts that I use and sell them as a unit, so you guys can just purchase them, watch this video, and you can put them in the same way I set up my Livewells. This Livewell is very efficient. It's going to be perfect for what he needs to fish these tournaments and keep the bass alive. So part two is going to be the Garmin trolling motor, draft units, foot pedal recess tray, and the Panoptix. So I need a video for the install of the Panoptix. I know you guys have a lot of questions about that and how I run my Panoptix system. So that's going to be part two. Appreciate you watching. I'll see you on the next one. It's time for me to get back to work.